You know, it's been said that men live lives of quiet desperation, and that's so true in a lot of cases, and particularly if you're at a point in your life right now where you're at that point, you're living that quiet desperation where something inside of you feels like there's so much more that you should be doing, but yet you feel stuck. You just feel like you're stuck in a rut. Maybe you're working for a job that you're not happy with. You're in a life that you're just unfulfilled with. You feel like there's got to be something else to life, and yet you're not living it. And one of the biggest problems, one of the biggest reasons why we get stuck is because we get too busy listening to what other people tell us that we should be doing. See, we take other people's beliefs in us and we adopt them as our own. And then we create our own kind of story based on what other people label us as, what other people believe for us to be true, what other people tell us we're capable of. And then we adopt those as our own, and then we wonder why we are so afraid to ever try to break out of this rut and do what we really want to be doing, rather than we feel we'll pay the bills, or what we feel we have to be doing, what we should be doing, what other people think we should be doing. So it's time now to really stop listening to what other people tell you that you should do and start making that move on doing what it is that you want to do. You know, for years I was stuck in that rut because I spent 10 years of my life working in a job that I hated as a grocery store clerk. And I did it because that's all I knew. I fell into that job after high school. I dropped out of college 4 different times. I couldn't figure out what in the world I was supposed to be doing. I didn't have a purpose or a direction in my life, and I kind of fell into this job. And before I knew it, I was listening to what everybody else was telling me, that I was making good money at the time. I had full benefits. I had medical, dental, and vision, and I had 2 weeks vacation, whoop-de-doo, every year. I got to work a freaking year of my life just to get 2 weeks off once a year. And I had all the benefits and all of those perks and everything that went with the job, but I was freaking miserable. I was absolutely miserable. And then one day, finally in 2000, it was after 10 years of this, and I came back from my honeymoon. I had just gotten married, and I came back with a goatee. And of all things, I didn't think anything of it because the produce clerks and the meat clerks had goatees, so why would I think anything of it? Until my boss came in and came up to me and asked me what that shit was on my face that I came back from my honeymoon with. And I laughed it off thinking that he was joking. I thought it was all funny until I got called into the office. And then I went into the office, and by then, everybody, around work is getting wind of this, and kind of a couple people caught wind of what the manager was saying. And as I was walking into the office, I filled a couple of my coworkers in and didn't realize how quickly the word had spread around the whole entire store as they were awaiting the outcome after I walked into the manager's office. And I had to deal with my manager and the assistant manager, who backed me up into the corner and start interrogating me about why I had this goatee. And of all things, it felt like I was in elementary school, getting scolded by my teacher at the time. And when I told him that, hey, I just grew the goatee on my honeymoon, and I didn't see what the problem was because the produce clerk and the meat clerk had goatees as well. And then they told me the craziest thing. My manager told me that the reason why the other people were able to have goatees was because theirs was fully grown. And because mine didn't look fully grown, I wasn't allowed to wear a goatee in the store, of all the things. And it didn't make sense to me. And what was even worse about it was I tried to tell my boss that the only reason it didn't look fully grown to him was because I wanted to keep myself looking professional in the corporate image that you have to be to work in these stores. And I used a trimmer to keep it neat, or so I thought. And that wasn't good enough for him. And he said that it clearly stated that in the rule book that I couldn't have a goatee unless it was fully grown. And so when I asked him to get me the handbook and show me in the employee handbook where that rule was, because I knew damn well that didn't make sense, that there was any kind of rule like that about fully grown and half-grown goatees. I mean, it was freaking ridiculous. And of course, he then came back and told me that he didn't have any employee handbooks anywhere in the building. And what a surprise that was. And I thought, wait a minute now. You mean to tell me that you're a manager in a grocery store, and this is a place where you interview people who are applying for jobs here. So you're interviewing candidates on a regular basis to hire. And every candidate who gets hired gets an employee handbook. And you mean to tell me you don't have one handbook on file? And he insisted that he didn't, and he insisted this was the rule, and he also insisted that I could not go back to work unless I took a walk. And this meant I had to go walk past all the cashiers, all my coworkers, go walk past the meat and the produce department, right past everybody, and go into the back room in the bathroom and go get a can of shaving cream and a razor blade and shave that goatee off, and then I would be allowed to continue to work. And I didn't have to think very hard about that before I told him basically what I thought of that rule, and that it was a violation of my right to freedom, and that there was no way in hell I was going to shave that goatee unless he could prove to me and show me where that rule existed. And before he could even dismiss me, I walked right out of there. So I stood right up, I walked right out of there, I walked past all my coworkers and told them, I'll see you later, I'm out. And I stood up for myself and did it. So why am I sharing this story with you? Because had that not happened, I was frustrated for 10 years working in this business that I couldn't stand. And for years, I just didn't believe I had the ability to do anything else but work in a freaking grocery store. I didn't think I was smart enough. I didn't think I was worthy enough, and I was too damn scared and afraid to get out and claim ownership of what I wanted to do in my life. So I stayed stuck. And had this incident never happened, I probably would have spent the rest of my life there, and I probably would have died a lot younger, a lot years sooner from a heart attack or some damn other disease I would have been brought on by being miserable and unhappy. And had I lived a long enough life, or whatever those years that I did have, I would have spent in absolute, utter misery. So this was the spark that I needed, the catalyst that I needed to claim ownership of the life that I wanted. I finally had the reason that I needed. I had the freedom to go out and do what I wanted to do. And that's the thing, that if you're there, if you're stuck in that job that you can't stand, or in a life that you're just unhappy with, and you're feeling like there's something more you need to be doing, it's time to stop worrying and listening to what everybody around you is telling you that you can do. It's time to stop taking what other people believe and stop using that as your story for why you can't get out and do what it is that you were put here to do. It's time to start taking ownership of what it is that you want. Start to put it out there, talk about it, tell it to other people, because that's your way of taking ownership. If you don't talk about it, if you don't put it out there, then you're never going to get it, because you're not taking ownership. You're not acknowledging to yourself that you're worthy of it, or that it's even that important to you. So it's time now to stop listening. Decide on what it is that you want. Decide right now, today. Don't do it tomorrow. Don't wait until all the stars are aligned or until everything in your life is perfect, because it'll never happen. Life isn't perfect. You've got to make the decision. Decide what you want, take ownership of it, and go get it. Because the worst thing that you could ever have is sitting back when it's all said and done and you're coming at the end of your days. And in your final days, you're going to look back on your life and you're going to be having those regrets. The 5 worst words that you want are, I wish I would have. I wish I would have. Don't live with those words. Stop listening to other people. Decide what you want. Take ownership of it and go get it.